Hey, I'm Vic, the shop owner coach. I'm here to talk to you today about something very, very interesting, something we're all fascinated with, and it's a time machine. Many of us growing up, many of us today are fascinated with the idea of time travel. Books, movies, television often make it a central theme, whether it's going back to fix a mistake or jumping ahead to see how things turn out. That's because the series stick with us because they tap into one simple question. What would I do if I knew what I know then, what I know now? For shop owners, that question hits a lot closer to home, not because we want to erase the past, but because we know exactly which moments we'd like to revisit. Now, if I had a time machine, it wouldn't be shiny or futuristic. Most likely, it'd be held together with duct tape, coffee stains, and a few bad decisions. Now, I wouldn't use it for the big obvious stuff. No lottery numbers, no perfect hires, no silver bullet. I'd use it to revisit a handful of moments that didn't feel dramatic at the time, but quietly shaped everything that came after. Now, you know the ones where you tell yourself it'll work out while ignoring that knot in your stomach. Most shop owners don't need a time machine to fix mistakes. What we really want is to shorten how long we stay stuck in them because a mistake usually isn't the decision itself, it's how long we defend it. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, here are a few conversations I'd have, not to beat myself up, just to save a heck of a lot of time. I tell myself this: charge what you're actually worth. Now, you know how that feels. Now, early on, I thought keeping prices low made me competitive. I believe customers were fragile and loyalty was something you earned by being cheaper than the guy down the street. Some of you may feel like that today. You don't need to be cheaper than the rest. You need to be of quality. But what I didn't understand was that the underpricing didn't make customers loyal. It made the owner, me, and you tired. I worked harder and longer and carried a lot more stress than I needed. I kept telling myself I'd raise prices once things settle down. You know what? They never do. Shops don't magically calm themselves down. Now, if I had a time machine, I'd lean in and I'd say this: charging properly isn't about greed, it's about respect. Respect for the work, respect for your team and the customer. Good customers don't leave because you charge fairly. They leave because they don't understand the value or don't trust the recommendation. Now, that's not a pricing issue. It's a leadership and communication issue. Number two, I'd slow down on hiring, even when the pressure was on. There's at least one hire every shop owner wishes they could undo. Gosh, I look back, I had many. The resume looked great. The interview went fantastic, and the bays were full, so you talked yourself into it. You had that knot in your stomach, though. Like I said, I did that more than once. But what I learned later is this: rushing a hire doesn't remove the pressure, it just moves it. Now it's living in your culture, your comeback rate, your front counter, and your sleep. If I could go back, I wouldn't stop hiring if things got tight. I'd stop settling. I stop using what I call, can you fog the mirror test? If they could show up and barely breathe, they were in. Some of you have done that, and some of you know what that price could cost. The approach doesn't honor your team or your culture. Hiring to your values takes longer. It takes discipline, but it protects the shop you're trying to build. Your team deserves to work alongside some people who care the same, who have the same standards, and they don't share just the same time clock. Number three, I pay attention to the numbers before they started yelling at me. For a long time, I looked at the numbers like a report card. You pass, you fail, right? Well, it was something to review after the fact. When the stress was already high, didn't always go so well. By the time I really dug in, the damage was already done. It took experience to realize numbers aren't there to judge you. They're there to warn you quietly, early, if you're willing to look. Weekly awareness beats annual panic every time. If I had a time machine, I'd tell myself this: small misses caught early are easy to fix. Big surprises usually mean you weren't paying attention soon enough. Number four, I built systems before I was forced to. Early on, everything ran through me. I knew where everything was. I'd fixed everything. I decided everything. And at the time, I wore that like a badge of honor. Eventually, it became a bottleneck. I was that bottleneck in the shop. If I'd go back, I'd start building simple systems earlier, not fancy ones, just clear ones. How to inspect a vehicle? How do we want them done? How the phones are answered? How people are trained and what good actually looks like. Systems don't replace people, they protect them. They reduce friction, they create consistency, and most owners wait to build the systems until they're exhausted. By then, it feels overwhelming. But doing it early, it would have felt empowering. Number five, I'd ask for help long before I was drowning. And this one really matters the most because honestly, I resisted bringing a coach on for a long time, longer than I should have. I told myself I could figure it out and that struggle was part of the deal. Working harder could eventually fix it. You know that feeling. You're a fixer too. We fix things in the base. Why can't we fix them in the shop? One day, payroll was due. I hate to say it, there's only $1,000 in the bank. I wasn't underwater, not quite, but I had one nostril above water. But that's when I finally asked for help, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Looking back, I don't beat myself up for that moment, but I do often wonder how different it might have been if I engaged a coach earlier. Not in crisis mode, not with my back against the wall, but proactively. Maybe the outcome would have been different. Maybe not. But I know this, it wouldn't have been worse. I waited about 15 years. Boy, that's 15 years I like to have a conversation with. And one more thing, what I'd really tell myself about honor. If I had a time machine, I'd also talk to myself about honor because a lot of the stress I felt came from not honoring the right things. I'd remind myself to honor the customer by letting them know everything their car needs, not just what fits the visit, not just what feels comfortable. I'd lay it all out clearly and professionally, and then let them decide what works best for them. It's not pressure, that's respect. Remind myself to honor the team by hiring the people who align with the values and culture I want, not just filling the hole. Skills can be taught. Attitude and alignment are much harder to fix. Your best people feel it when standards slip. Then I remind myself to honor my family and myself by running the shop like a business, not a charity. Providing the best possible service means ensuring your rates are at the top of your market, not the bottom. You work hard. You're committed. You're committed to your team. You're committed to your customers. That deserves a firm financial foundation. Profit isn't something to apologize, and profit's not a dirty word. Profit is what allows you to weather whatever storm comes your way. Here's the thing, you don't need a time machine. Every shop owner viewing or listening to this is already someone else's future version. You survive things that would scare your younger self. You've learned lessons that others are just starting to face. The goal isn't to avoid the mistakes, it's to recognize them sooner, to act faster, to stop defending decisions that no longer serve you. Experience is one tough teacher, but it doesn't have to be the only one. Sure, that time machine might be nice to have, but the reality is this, who you are today is a direct result of the choices you've made and the outcomes that follow, good and bad. None of it happened by accident. I'd like to think of it this way. Every person you've met and every decision you've made is a rock or boulder sitting in a stream. Some were small and barely nudged the current. Others were massive and changed the direction of the water entirely. Either way, they shaped the path that brought you to right here. So don't waste time wishing these rocks weren't there. Embrace what you've become because of them. Learn the lessons they served up, even the uncomfortable ones. Then do the most important thing a shop owner can do. Be intentional about the next bend in the stream. You can't change where the water's been, but you can absolutely influence where it flows from here. Time travel stories aren't really about the future. They're about reflection, accountability, and learning faster the next time. If this struck a chord, take a few minutes to slow down, email us, go to our website, and contact us. Ask for the time travel worksheet. If you're ready to grow or you're ready to take the next step, we've got Shop Owner Coach 20 groups. We've got Shop Owner Coach one-on-one. We can align yourself with peers or work directly one-on-one with a coach to take yourself to new heights. I'm Vic Tarasik, the Shop Owner Coach. Thanks for watching.